an American actor, producer, and investor. And I also welcome Smart Toto, Hasfa and Lee to the show, who focus on children's education in Uganda. Welcome to the Cedric Live Show. My first guest on the show today is actor, producer, and now investor, Mr. Morrocco Omari. And you know, for the record, it's not the first time he's been on my show, so I'm really grateful. Welcome to the show, Morrocco.
Thank you. See, when you say investor, man, it makes it seem like I got money.
Yeah, that's the whole point, right? Make it seem like you have money. How have you been, man?
I'm good actually. Yeah, man. It's good to be back in Uganda. It's always good to be here.
And it's great to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
You know, I think you were one of my first guests.
Yeah.
And you were gracious enough to come on the show.
Yeah.
But you didn't know what was going to happen.
No idea.
But I think between now and then, you know, we've kind of figured out, you know, I'm okay, I'm okay. I get by.
He's okay dude right there.
Yeah. You know, so I'm pleased. Yeah. So what have you been up to, man? What have you been up to these last few months?
Man, Cedric, nothing.
Nah, come on. You told me, you know, we had conversations and you told me you were preparing to do a movie with the great Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, back then, I guess last time I left, I shot that movie the last time I was on.
Yeah. So
we premiere next month, November 22nd in America, and I believe November 29th here in Uganda.
Yes.
So it's with Chadwick Boseman, a movie called 21 Bridges.
Okay.
It's a cop suspense film. I play the deputy mayor of New York City.
Okay.
And he asked me to close down the 21 bridges and tunnels of New York City, of Manhattan.
Right.
To catch these cop killers.
Yes.
So I have to either say yes or no. So
you make it sound easy, you know. Just shut them down.
Yeah, right. Just shut down.
Just shut down the whole of New York. It's okay. Yeah. Everybody can go home.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. If you're on the wrong side of the bridge, whatever happens.
Right.
So you've been doing that, but I think we chatted a little bit. You're now going to go back and get into a series of sorts, something.
Yeah, I got a movie that I'm gonna go and shoot in Brooklyn, in New York City, called Ungodly, which talks about the character that I'm about to play. He's kind of like a Nino Brown type, bad.
That's New Jack City, is it?
Yeah,
that's a long time ago.
New Jack City type.
You know character. These guys were born in 2000.
Oh, that's okay.
1999. They don't know about New Jack City. You know, but they can go and Google it.
Yeah, they can go and look it up. But he's I almost didn't do the movie. That's how bad he is. That's how
his characters.
Oh yeah,
evil.
Oh,
dark.
Yeah, I mean the film opens up and he's just watching a body and he's just across the street, chilling on his vehicle, eating, and everybody knows he did it, but everybody's even the cops and the detectives are like, nah.
I remember a scene like that from American Gangster.
Yeah.
With Denzel Washington when he walks out onto the street, shoots someone in the head, and goes back to his brothers and has something to eat.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it doesn't happen in real life, does it?
Yeah. Well, that was Frank Lucas, so that was a real character that Denzel played.
But I mean, the way they played it out, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think you could do that. I don't think you could do outside Cafeteria and walk back in and have something to eat. I think there would be a bit of a reaction on the street.
Yeah, you know? I'm sure.
Your brothers might wait, but I don't think the other people would.
I'm sure. But I believe that these characters, because I've been studying a guy in New York who was kind of a hitman.
Yeah.
And he did 30 years in prison.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
You were studying a hitman?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious.
So just to get the character, because this guy, he did 30 years in prison.
Yeah.
And he was a hitman, 30, 40 bodies. And he was just telling me how he would study whoever for months at a time. Like he would go through your trash, pull out your bills, see where you shopped at, who you were calling, the whole thing. And he knew your habits.
So basically you have to dig deep for this character.
Yeah.
You have to go into a really dark sort of place.
It's a very dark place.
So we shouldn't WhatsApp you during this time?
No, probably not.
Okay, man. Because we don't want any problems. Your life is hard enough.
I think I will turn everything off and just focus for the few weeks that I have to shoot and just play this character.
Now, one of the things that I think sat with me a lot is that you visited Uganda a few times.
Right.
Which is, I would say, very rare for, I don't know if the word African American is politically correct.
Yeah, it's correct.
It's politically correct, yeah. And but you've been coming back, and you've started, or you're already involved in the Ugandan creative space film industry. And you've also had some classes that you've done, teaching people how to act, direct, produce, which to me is a great thing, because many people come here and then they don't come back. They just do what they've come for and then they leave. You must be coming back for a reason. There must be something in Uganda in terms of that industry that keeps attracting you back to that industry.
The chapati.
Party?
The chapati.
The chapati? Oh.
No, I'm kidding. I met Sharp Suwali my first trip here. We were staying at the same Airbnb, and the lady who owned it wanted to have a dinner for everybody who was staying there.
Yes.
He sat across from me, and we got to talking, and he was just, this sharp is sharp. He's very smart, very intelligent. And then he said, "Hey, I got a script you want to read." And I was like,
but although sometimes he forgets his drives, Sharp, you can drop that bit.
This is where I drink my coffee.
Right? But actually keep that in. Right? So, anyway, sorry, I hate to interrupt.
No,
okay, go ahead.
And he said, would you mind reading the script? And I smiled like, yeah. And on the inside, I was like, because sometimes you read a script and it's horrible. You're like, oh man, it takes you a week to read, 100 pages, So I said, yeah.
But it's okay. Most of us can't get visas anyway. So even if you didn't say anything, nothing would have happened. Yeah.
Right. So I read the script, and I called him. I texted him. I was like, yo, what do you want me to do? How can I be a part of this? And he said, I want you to produce it. I was like, all right, cool. I'm down. And and we were like trying to find, you can send scripts to different networks and see if they're interested. And then, I was going to Kigali, and he met me there. And I said, you know what, Sharp, let's just shoot it. Let's just shoot it ourselves and package it and then shop it. So
I'm going to cut you off right there.
Yeah.
While I break to commercial. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about your movement into the Ugandan film industry.
Sure.
If you do wrong, be afraid.
2 shooters. They have training.
For he does not bear the sword in vain. He carries out wrath on the wrongful.
I will find them. If we don't catch these guys in the next 3 or 4 hours, they vanish. How you gonna do this?
There are 21 bridges in and out of the island. Shut them down.
What island?
Manhattan.
You ain't got the action when you see me non-strap. BGO, we back again, we going bad.
They told me you were the guy who kills killers.
Beautiful. What could go wrong? You got a trigger. You better have perfect diction calling me a trigger.
This was a setup.
Call it what you want.
I just did.
If you go down this road, you're looking over your shoulder the rest of your life.
I'd rather look the devil in the eye.
Still going bad on me.
Welcome back to the Cedric Live Show. I'm still here with Morocco Omari, an actor, producer, and of course I accused him of being an investor. And he was telling me about his journey into the Ugandan film industry. So you just told me about how you met Sharp and he'd given you a script. And, you just decided, made an executive decision to shoot the pilot. So what happened from there?
So we shot it in January, and and now we have a pilot.
Right.
So now we're shopping the pilot, and then Malika told me about this other brother, Lukman Ali, and I was like, all right, cool. So he sent me a trailer a scene and a script. And I was like, yo, how much do you need? So we raised the money to shoot this feature film to finish up The Girl in the Yellow Jumper. And then Prince Atlas and Gazuza asked me to be a part of this docu-series it's like a travel creative show called Cultural Creations, where we go to different countries and find out, like we did the Ugandan drum. We went into the forest and
watched that, yeah.
Yeah, the drum go from a tree to the actual drum and how it's made, and how much it costs, and the time, and the tradition of the drum, and how So now I'm just looking for good projects to get behind.
So now, of course, you have those two productions. You have I think the first one's called The Reporter.
The Reporter, The Girl in the
by
Yellow
Sharp
Jumper. Yeah, by Sharp Sawali.
And then you have
Girl in the Yellow Jumper by Lukman Ali. And then we have Cultural Creations, the docuseries.
Both sets of guys lost my footage, but it's okay. But no, jokes aside, no, they're great guys. I know they're very talented. But tell me, what is your opinion? You've been in Hollywood, of course. You know what the standard is, because Hollywood is pretty much the standard of filmmaking around the world. What is your view on the Ugandan film industry? What do you think of it?
What is my view on the Ugandan film industry? I mean, with the examples of Sharp and Lukman, they're very exceptional.
Yes.
It's. I wouldn't limit and say, oh, you guys are just Ugandan filmmakers. You guys are filmmakers. What the scripts that you're writing and the work that you're doing, it's universal. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And as an artist, we want to be universal.
Yes.
Singers, painters, filmmakers, actors. It's just, if it's good, it's good. Be so good that they can't deny you. So when I read these scripts and saw the work, I was like, oh, okay. Let's get behind this. Let's, and I showed it to my, friends in America, and they were like, whoa, or they read, the script, they read, like, my ex-girlfriend doesn't like she always rips scripts apart. I gave a Sharp script and she had no note. And I was like, you have no, she was like, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And I was like, and she rips my script, she just, I hate it. I'm like, okay. And, you know what I'm saying? Like, but no, if it's good, it's good. It's not like, oh, it's Ugandan good.
Yeah. It's good.
It's good. And that's what I look for. I look for fresh stories, fresh ideas, because I mean, I live in America. The stuff that it's just like, okay, I've heard this story. I've seen this story before. I read this story before. Okay, another cop show, another hospital show. Okay, that's great. What's different? Give me something different. So when you sit here or when you come to the continent and when I travel and I'm getting fed and all this knowledge and all this history and all this tradition, it inspires me to be a better artist. Because with any artist, and I tell actors this all the time, you have to travel because your life experiences, you bring all your life experiences to your art.
Yes.
You know what I mean? If you listen to a Donny Hathaway song, you're just like, oh, that brother has been in love. And his woman has left him. And you feel that pain through his voice. Yeah. So as actors, we know what it feels like to be in love. We know what it feels like to see a beautiful woman or be drunk or have a fight. You know what it feels like to, this pain in your body. So we can live that moment again, and we file it away, and when we need it, we can bring it back. So for me, I look at art as art. Is this new? Is this good? Do I lean forward? Like, can I predict what's on the next line? Do I know how this story is going to end? So I can't say finding, it's just like, oh, I discovered these filmmakers. They've always been here. But for them finding me and trusting me with their work, I'm honored, and I want to bring their work to the rest of the world.
That's a great mentality, because some people will look at it as, you're doing them the favor.
No, they're doing me the favor.
Or they're, vice versa. So what do you think we need to do? You see, this industry, you've met Lukman, you've met Sharp, you've met several great, artists, musicians.
Sure.
What do you think we need to do to consolidate this talent into a vehicle that can actually begin to attract the necessary resources? Because at the end of the day, everybody has to make a living. Everybody has to make a living, which not necessarily is to go build a big house or drive a big car. But if it's a creative, they need money to create more stuff.
Right.
If you're an actor, you need money to get by so you can become better at what you do. And, in America, of course, great actors become rich and so on and so forth. And they become influencers and they get called to be UN ambassadors and this and that. What do we need to do as an industry in Uganda? As maybe even as regulators, what do we need to do to grow this industry?
I wish I had the answer to that question. Seriously, I mean, for me, it's just keep collaborating. You have all these great filmmakers. You need a think tank where we as filmmakers, we meet once a week, once a month, and we say, okay, what are the scripts that we have? What can we shoot? What's ready to go? Your actors meet, all your creatives just meet and continue putting out content.
Right.
So if you have 10 filmmakers, you say everybody go out and make a film, at least once a year. That's 10 films coming out of Uganda. You know what I mean? Like Nollywood. They're just putting out films.
They're in the hundreds of thousands now, yeah.
And I think that, you just keep challenging each other and collaborating with each other, and don't believe that, this is a competition. This filmmaker. It's like, no, we all have, I can only be me, and I'm not the best actor in the world, but I'm the best me.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I'm going to attack a character or a script a different way. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to say, this is the best way, but it's my way. And I'm going to, do it my way artistically. I'm going to show up for work. I think with filmmakers, they all have voices and they can all be heard without saying, that filmmaker is better or this film is better. It's not about that. It's just keep putting out your work. Keep putting it out. So when you see the guy from Star Wars and Spielberg, and I mean, they're all friends and they collaborate.
One thing that impressed me the other day, that something that happened in the States, is when Tyler Perry was launching his studios.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like everybody in the world was there. It seemed like it. I don't know if you were there, but it seemed like there was a lot of support, even from not just African Americans, but even people outside. And what you say is he was his best self in what he does.
Yeah.
He picked his niche and he followed it. Yeah. And today, of course, the story is whatever it is.
And it's a beautiful studio. It's amazing.
I saw it it online, and it was, but what amazed me the most was the fact that, yes, it's owned by a black man that represents not just African Americans, but all of us, and the amount of togetherness I saw, everybody was talking about it on the news, from, Oprah to Bill Clinton to Obama, everybody was talking about it. It just seemed like everybody sort of said, okay, this one, we're going to push it together. Because there's guys who were in the game before him, like Spike Lee or whatever, but it didn't seem that much of a movement before. But this time it seemed like that sort of thing. So I suppose that's what we have to do.
Yeah. You have to collaborate and keep putting out films and trust. And I mean, not just release them in Uganda. I mean, there are film festivals around the world that you can submit your film to, and let it do the festival circuit, so you can bring light on the Ugandan film industry. You can't just say, I'm gonna put this film out and we're gonna premiere it somewhere and then that's it, and we might sell some DVDs or and then it's gone. You can because that's what I plan to do with Sharp's and Lukman's project. I've entered them into film festivals and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens.
Listen, brother, it was good to have you on the show.
Likewise.
And I hope I'll see you again.
I
on
might
the
be
Cedric
back
Live
in
Show.
Uganda again, you know.
Maybe this time I should come visit you.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Thanks a lot for coming on the show. Thanks for what you're doing for the industry.
Thank you.
And for the individuals.
Yeah.
And I hope to see you before you leave.
Yes.
Maybe informally, not on the show. Thanks for coming, brother.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching the Cedric Live Show. That was Morocco Omari. Up next, we have the folks, Hasfa and Lee from Smart Toto, talking about education in Africa, or in Uganda specifically. Welcome back. Joining me on the show now, just after Morocco Omari, is Lee and Margot from Smart Toto. You know, many times I try to explain what these good causes are, and then I get myself in a jumble. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask you, ladies first, to explain to us and the viewers, what's Smart Toto?
Smart Toto is a youth-led social enterprise that focuses on early literacy development. So most people clarify us as being under education, but we mostly only focus on early literacy development. That is beginning from 0, or in most cases from 6 months, when the baby is 6 months in the stomach, all the way to about 12 years old.
Okay.
So those first early years, we focus on training them how to read, write, and spell, and also getting them to fall in love with reading.
And this is a Ugandan NGO, right?
Social enterprise.
Social enterprise.
Yes.
What's the difference, Lee? What's the difference between a social enterprise and an NGO? And if you don't know, you can kick it back to her.
I'll let Margot answer that one. She's way more clued up.
First of all, I think we've met before.
Yeah.
And you're originally from Manchester.
Manchester, England.
And they call you Mancunians. Mancunians.
Yes.
Ah, fantastic. So you're came all the way from Manchester.
Yeah. Now I'm toning my accent down for you.
You are?
I'm toning it down.
No, come on, man. Well, you're not doing a good job. I have to listen, and listen carefully. But I'll get there eventually. So, Smart Toto is a social enterprise.
Yes.
And it mainly focuses on literacy. From the ages of literacy development, from the ages of 6 months.
Minus
6 months.
When the baby is 6 months in the stomach.
Right.
So what the activities that you can do when you're 6 months pregnant, all the way to 12 years.
Yes.
Yes. So from 0 to 12.
So what do you do the 6 months in?
So it's when you're pregnant, by the time you're 6 months, the baby starts recognizing the voices around and all the actions that are happening. So as a parent, as a caregiver, if you're in line and depending on the future that you want to form for your child, when you start reading books, when you start reciting numbers, letters, listening to certain music, all these affect the child when they come out. So that's why you find that at 1 year, some children can read and some can't read, or by 6 months, some children can recognize words and some can't because of the activities that you did while 6 months, from 6 months onwards, really.
Can you teach older people? Because there's some people on this set who don't read my WhatsApp messages. So maybe we could bring Smart Toto into the group chat and we talk about literacy.
Yes, we can.
We can.
Yeah.
Reading in particular.
Yeah, and reading.
So how did you get involved? All the way from Manchester. It's a long way away.
Yeah.
It's in the north of England, right?
Exactly, yeah. I came here about 12 years ago.
Yes.
A friend of mine who I was doing business with at the time introduced me to Uganda, and I never went back. Well, okay, so I went back, but then I came back again, and then I continued to come back.
Right.
And then at some point I met Margot.
Right.
She was doing events, so then we got our heads together and we started a company called Exquisite Events, which we specialise in corporate team building.
Right.
From there, we share the same passion regarding giving back and early childhood development. We're kind of into the same sort of things, so it was easy for us to combine what we were currently doing with our team building and start Smart Toto, which was, like you said before, a social enterprise. My interpretation of social enterprise, I suppose, is to say that we're community development based. You know, we employ the youth and we enable the youth with our platform to be able to impact in their community. You know, specialising in early childhood development and obviously creativity, inspiration, all of these things that you know we feel is needed in the villages and in this world today, which is ever changing.
So Margot, give me a little brief on how it actually works in terms of the network. How do you, Lee's talked about impacting the youth, employing the youth, allowing them to grow the network of Smart Toto.
Yeah.
How does that actually work?
So what happens, first of all, we start with creating relatable content.
Right.
So we make sure that all the books African children can relate to them, depending on the country that we're in. For instance, now we're in Uganda. So we pick the border, we pick a girl who looks like an average Ugandan girl, and then write a story on that. And then the story has to have a strong message behind it. So for instance, this is a story dedicated to all those who believe that I can, empowering children to believe that I can be anything that I want to be. Yes. After we've picked the story, we employ the youth. So the editing is done by the youth, the illustration, the graphic design, everything.
When you say the youth,
Yes.
you know that 80% of our population are youth.
Yes.
So when you say youth, are you speaking about under a certain age, or you speaking, because 80% of our population is under 30?
Youth. Yeah, but now mostly we're looking at people who have just left university, people who are young, ambitious, and then creative, and people who are driven by passion and a need to create an impact in their communities.
Right.
So from after creating the books, then we go on further to develop what we call the libraries, the community libraries.
Okay.
Then again, when it comes to the furniture, to the design of the library, to the design of the literacy manuals, everything, again, we look for fresh graduates who are in the same field with a need to create impact. And then from there, we go in the communities, build the libraries, carry out the trainings. Now, when it comes to the communities, as much as we're focusing on early literacy development, we also look at the parents. Because you know it very well that there is no way a child will fall in love with a book if the parent doesn't love reading, or if it's not part of the home, because children do not listen, they imitate. Everything that we do is what they turn out doing. So what we do is that we carry out...
Could you maybe help me with my children? Because when I go to sleep, I want them to imitate me and go to sleep, but they don't go to sleep. So how can we sort of make this our jokes as I go?
But also that goes back to early years of development. Yes. So when we're in the communities, we carry out trainings that mostly focus on the parents, grandmothers, caregivers, influencers of these children.
Yes.
One, because we want them to understand that the environment that we create for our children ends up affecting them. Yeah? And also for them to appreciate the fact that everything that you do with a child before they're 6 years old is what they turn out to be when they're 18. Here we have that culture of when you're 18, you're expected to act a certain way, to behave a certain way, but you were never groomed in that way. For instance, I'm expected to give a speech at 18 and look at people in the eyes, but when I was 6, I was not expected to look at the adults in the eyes, because then that's offensive.
So the saying goes, charity begins at home.
At home, yes.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So for us, it's very important that parents understand that the most important years of their children are the ages between 0 and 6 years old. So we pass on that message and then encourage them using positive psychology, because all of us at the end of the day want our children to have a better life. So then we ask them, what do you want your child to be? Do you want them to be a doctor, a president, or anything they want them to be? And then it's more of, what do you think those people's parents did that we're missing out on? There is this great saying by Maya Angelou that do the best that you can until you know better. When you know better, do better. So that's what we assume when we're in the communities, that maybe they're raising their children from the perspective that they know. So if we add a little bit of knowledge to that, then we do believe that their impact in terms of early literacy and exposing children to reading can actually develop and increase.
We'll be right back after the commercial, where we'll talk a little bit more with Lee and Margot on Smart Toto.
My name is Margot Hasfa, founder, Smart Toto Publishing Limited. This is us. 2.5 years ago, we started by writing authentic African stories to encourage children to fall in love with books. 1.5 years later, we opened our first community library. This year, 2019, in partnership with 2 Belgian companies, Tiger Power and Close the Gap, we are launching our community e-hubs in Chenjeje district, Uganda. Community e-hubs are containerized, solar-powered centers that promote social development. These e-hubs are able to power over 200 houses, power the millers, power the doctors, and power all the schools. These centers are also training grounds for early literacy development, digital training, and hands-on skilling for both the youth and the adults in these communities. With the community e-hubs, we are looking at community development throughout the lives of these children, because 15 years from now, Patrick and Henry are going to be the youth in these communities, coming from flourishing communities, well invested in during their early years of development. And then 30 years from now, these 2 little boys are going to be empowered parents with the right skills, the right mindset to cause transformational change in these communities for years and generations to come.
On December the 8th, 2017, in partnership with Stanbic Bank, we launched our first community library here in Impigi at the Kalike Casamay Foundation. Over the course of the year, we have recorded attendance at over 800 kids and 400 adults. We have also been involved in local awareness campaigns targeting a reduction in defilement cases in Impigi.
We want to work with you on every level of this project. If you're passionate about early literacy development, if your passion is digital training, if you feel the need to join our mission, if your organization is drawn to our cause, then please join our vision, join our story, work with us, and together, let's empower communities.
Welcome back to the Cedric Live Show. I'm here with Lee and Margot discussing Smart Toto, a social enterprise that actually focuses on learning. There's another word.
Early literacy development.
Early literacy. Now, a question I have, Lee, for you is, I actually have 2 questions. So I'm going to ask you these 2 questions. First of all, how big is your social enterprise? Where are you actually situated in the country? Where have you got to in terms of reach?
We have a number of libraries in Uganda. One in particular, which is nearby, is in Impigi.
Okay. It's not very far, it's up the road.
Yeah. And then we have another one in Fort Portal as well, which was a recent one. We have 7 libraries altogether, but we've kind of evolved the libraries, and now we're calling them pop-up libraries. You know, they have quotes on the wall. I mean, Margot can obviously.
What his meaning to say is that with our libraries, we're very intentional. So when you walk into the library, the first thing that you see is on the wall is the shelf, which is the word read itself. One, it's very important that for the little ones below 3 years old, we don't believe they are reading, but they are learning to assimilate and associate with letters. So the moment they walk in and there's 4 letters on the wall, they are learning to recognize these letters. And then the ones who can read, who are learning how to read between 6 and 3, then they can start playing with the words R put with E and A. What does that mean? It means read. Then the ones who can read, and the word itself is inviting you to read. Then inside this shelf, you have relatable content. Then on the walls of the ceilings, we have very inspirational messages. We use positive affirmations because we believe whenever we are stuck or anything like that, we look up to the sky for God. So in our libraries, every ceiling, you have things that, yes, you can. You're made of greatness. You're here to make a change. We believe in you. Keep going. Things like that. Because every time they're in a library or they're having a bad day and then they look up and see a message like that, it's like God is talking to me. Somebody out there is talking to me.
Positive reinforcement. So,
yeah.
quick question. You have seven libraries at the moment.
Yes.
So you have a franchise model of sorts where you go out and you empower the youth in that particular community
Yes.
to run that particular library.
Yes. They're more like CBOs.
What is a CBO?
Community-owned, community-based organizations.
Oh, community-based organization.
So we partner with organizations that are already in the communities doing different kinds of works, and then we come in and empower them with educational materials, literacy, and learnings in that field.
Right.
And then we leave them to run that, to keep as an addition to what they're already doing.
How many kids have gone through your program, this Smart Toto program? Do you have a figure, or it's sort of like an ongoing process?
We're probably up to around 8,000 at the moment.
8,000?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a lot of people.
It's huge,
Yes.
yeah. It's amazing that we can impact, or at least, have these books and our training, our libraries accessible to so many kids.
How old is the organization, just as a matter of interest?
3 years now.
3 years?
Yes.
So some of these kids have actually grown up. They've,
Yeah, some of them have actually, some of them have passed the P7 because of, and excel very well because of these trainings from the libraries, because in the libraries they learn how to read, they learn how to spell, and then they learn how to write. And this is the foundation for any subject or any form of excellence in life. And then also with the libraries, what we've done is that now we've scaled it up. That's why the numbers have increased, because now we've gone into more of community e-hubs that are solar-powered containers. So
we had some challenges, obviously, partnering with NGOs that were currently doing work in the community. Yeah. Because obviously we're limited with how many NGOs are doing work, firstly. Right. And then also we need a space as well. We need a safe, secure space that the kids can come and play and interact with the library. So we've obviously evolved from our early libraries to where we are today, and we're starting a project next year, which we're calling Community E-Hubs.
Community E-Hubs?
Community E-Hubs.
What are those?
So to sum an E-Hub up, is basically a solution that we came up with. Obviously we have a technological revolution now. Technology is becoming a lot cheaper. Solar panels are cheaper. Right. We have containers available here in Uganda. Yes. We came up with a design that enables us to put solar panels on top of a container. Okay. And then obviously we have a 40-foot space underneath, which we can convert into a library. And then obviously all we need then is the land, because we have the 4 walls, we have the power, and then we can go into developing tablets that can be preloaded with educational,
with the information,
or we can have tablets that can link up to the internet, or we can share the educational material via the online, via the World Wide Web. So then it puts us in a position where we can really scale up and really have an impact. And I think this brings me to mention, or I should mention, about the 1 million books to 1 million kids. So I think it was 3 years ago? 3 years ago we started a campaign, 1 million books to 1 million kids. And obviously now we've probably enabled 8,000, possibly more kids to have access to the books. Now this year we want to ramp it up, scale it up, and spread the message a little bit further with our e-hubs.
Yeah, and just a bit on the e-hubs. So they have space for digital literacy, and then space for early literacy training. But even the solar panels on top, they are able to power all the schools around the e-hub. Then they are able to power over 200 houses in that particular community.
That's a very powerful solar panel.
Yes, that is houses. Yes, over 200 houses. Then power the businesses, let me say the millers around. So then you're not just doing early literacy, you're also developing the economical and social development of this particular community as well.
So my question is this, when you talk about all these things, there's something that's going through my mind. Do you want to guess what that is?
Yeah, the funding.
Yeah, how are you able to afford, or basically, I know there are grants, there are donors, but again, that's sort of, if you get it.
Yeah.
Well, you
Right.
know, we had the concept a long time ago, 3 years in fact.
Yes.
So before we go and bring anyone in to fund a project, we always feel like we have to make sure that it works first.
Okay.
So we funded it ourselves through exquisite events, through our corporate team building, and then it became our CSR. So, you know, we have other companies like ourselves in Uganda that have a policy of giving back.
Yes.
And we've also approved pilot projects where we can tap into that local funding.
This is massive. You know,
Yeah.
you're talking about a hub that powers 200 homes.
Yes.
And how many schools you said?
About 5 schools.
5 schools.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and then about
that's a lot
5
of
millions as well.
expenditure. The other day I was trying to get a quote for solar on my house. I said next salary. In the next, I'll wait maybe next year before I look at this thing again. So it's not cheap.
It's not.
So how? I mean, I know exquisite events. I've seen some of your work. I think posters and things like that.
Yeah.
But you guys must have some special events if you have enough.
No, but if you look at the benefits to the company, for instance, the e-hub, once you put this e-hub in the community,
Yes.
you're improving the social development of the community.
Correct.
So then what does that do? It also affects the business. Let me give an example. If we were to partner with a financial institute, let me say a bank,
Right.
and they came on board, one, they have branding rights, so that's already marketing. 2, they're enabling early literacy development, so that's social corporate responsibility, which ties into education.
Okay.
3, once you improve and give electricity or anything like this in any community, development comes. When development comes, then you have exchange of money, then you have circles, you have saving, you have people opening banks, you have a lot of development that takes place. So it's an investment for them that they get returns on. Because what we're looking at growth 20 and 30 years from now.
So the
if you're
whole ecosystem sort of develops itself after a while with,
Yes.
Exactly.
with the youth and the job creation and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a great idea. I mean, it's not idea. It works. I mean, I'm reading this book. Is it Omari, the Border? Actually, it's my son's name.
Yeah.
Which is quite good. You know, and yesterday or a couple of days ago, I went to see. I was invited to listen to the launch or watch a launch of something called Go Zembo. Have you heard of them?
No.
They're basically a solar-powered border.
Wow.
So the bike is charged.
yeah,
You've heard of them, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So, you know, from a pollution perspective, from an employment perspective, in terms of giving border riders access to this border over 2 years, where they can pay for it, you know, and the impact was in the environment.
Yeah.
Because whilst borders are a necessary evil, we don't like them, but they have to be there.
Yes, definitely.
Because that's just the way it is, you know. So it's very much in line with your solar project
Yes.
on the e-hub. So where do you see yourself or yourselves 5 years from now as Smart Toto?
Well, I think with the e-hubs, obviously moving into technology, that's one thing. The books are always going to have their place. You know, kids at a very young age love playing with the books, and then they can progress on to using computers and tablets at their own pace.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's important to have that available to kids of today's ever-changing world.
Yes.
You know, to enable them to be able to write CVs, be able to come and get jobs in Kampala. And who knows beyond, and I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah.
These kids can do anything. You know, we've spent so much time in the villages, seeing how amazing the kids are, seeing the potential. You know, Uganda is full of entrepreneurs. It's full of creative people, artists. You know, the list goes on with how many talented people we have.
We do have a lot of talented youth. Sorry, we have to leave the show today.
Yeah.
But it's been great having you guys on the Cedric Live show, talking about your social enterprise, Smart Toto. God bless in terms of what you're doing. And I hope to see a lot of your hubs in the next couple of years. Yeah. Thank you for watching the Cedric Live show. And a big thank you to our guests, Margot Lee and Morocco Omari. See you next week.